The first time I stumbled onto the beast in me, it didn't feel like finding a new Netflix show. It felt like a mistake I wasn't meant to make, like I just opened a door someone had forgotten to lock. One accidental click, and suddenly I was swallowed into a world where grief isn't just an emotion, it's a predator. A slow-breathing, patient, hungry predator. And the show doesn't waste a second sinking its teeth in. It begins with a mother who is trying to survive the unthinkable, the death of her son, Cooper. Aggie isn't dramatic. She isn't loud. She's hollowed out, like somebody scooped out her soul and left just enough behind to make her walk and talk. What caught me was how ordinary she seemed at first. An author who can't write, a mother who can't forgive herself, a woman whose days bleed together like ink spilled on a page. And then one afternoon, casual, harmless, unremarkable, her new neighbor arrives. Niall Jarvis, a man whose smile looks borrowed from a mannequin, whose eyes flicker like they're listening to a voice you can't hear. The kind of man who makes the hair on your arm stand up before you even understand why. And from the moment Aggie meets him, the show becomes something else entirely. A psychological trap, a descent, a dark mirror held up to a grieving woman. And to us. Tonight, we're diving deep into the beast in me. Its ending, its mysteries, the truth behind Madison, the death of Teddy, the meaning of legacy, and why Niall Jarvis is one of the most terrifying Netflix characters in years. So sit tight. This one gets uncomfortable. And yes, spoilers ahead. Aggie's entire life has collapsed into a single moment. The car crash that killed her son. It haunts her like a shadow she can't outrun. She keeps replaying it in her head. Cooper wanting her attention, her phone ringing with that urgent work call, the quick glance away that became the last moment her son was alive. Grief has trapped her in that instant, looping it until she's convinced herself she deserves to suffer. Then Niall moves in. Publicly, the media calls him the heir to a contaminated empire, a family business notorious for corruption, shady deals, and unsolved crimes. Privately, the whispers are even worse. His wife, Madison, vanished years ago, and he was the prime suspect. The case went cold, the cops backed off, and Niall resurfaced like nothing happened. So naturally, Aggie, desperate for inspiration, desperate for purpose, starts researching him for a new book. But the truth is more complicated. She isn't just writing about him. She's drawn to him. Not romantically, not physically, something deeper, something darker. A resemblance, a reflection. Grief recognizes grief, even when one is real and the other is manufactured. Niall senses it immediately. He circles her like a wolf testing the perimeter of its prey. Soft voice, gentle humor, casual charm, all of it carefully crafted. And underneath, someone who no longer belongs among human beings. The web of death. Who killed Madison and Teddy? Throughout the series, the biggest questions grind beneath the surface like tectonic plates. What happened to Madison? Who killed Teddy Fennick? And why does Niall fixate on Aggie with such unnatural intensity? Let's unravel each one. Number 1. What really happened to Madison? The show misleads us at first. It gives us glimpses of Madison smiling, Madison laughing, Madison happy, flashes from Niall's curated memory. Then it gives us the opposite, a frightened woman, a strained marriage, secrets she's hiding. The truth comes out in pieces. Madison wasn't just unhappy. She was terrified. She'd been speaking privately with Special Agent Abbott, trying to expose the Jarvis family's criminal operations, smuggling, coercion, murder disguised as business disasters. She was gathering proof, building a case, preparing to run. Niall found out. And the show reveals it not with a dramatic confession, but with a small, suffocating moment. The way Niall hesitates before killing Abbott, as if flashing back to a crime he committed years ago, a crime he doesn't regret. He killed Madison, calmly, efficiently, like removing a defective piece from a machine. Then he staged a suicide note, buried the truth, buried her, and buried the part of himself that still resembled a human being. Number 2. The death of Teddy Fennick. Teddy is the man who accidentally drove into Aggie's car the day Cooper died. The man who walked away while her child did not. The man she blamed. In her heart, in her therapy sessions, in the silence of her kitchen at 2 a.m. Her grief becomes Niall's playground. He senses her anger like a predator smelling blood. He twists it, nurtures it, inflates it, until her resentment becomes a storm powerful enough for him to weaponize. Now kidnaps Teddy, torches him, and eventually kills him, not for justice, not for Aggie, but to feed the monster inside him. Then he plants Teddy's body in Cooper's old room. He wants Aggie arrested, discredited, destroyed. And somewhere in his fractured mind, he believes this is what friends do to each other. His logic is simple. If I can break her, I can own her. If I can break her, I can make her like me. And for a terrifying moment, she almost lets him. Number 3. Why was Niall obsessed with Aggie? Not romantically, not emotionally, but spiritually. He saw in her the thing he worships most, a wound that never heals. He believes grief is a door, one that leads to the same darkness he lives in. He thinks Aggie is one push away from stepping across the line. If she kills Teddy, she becomes like him. If she lets him help, she becomes his masterpiece. He sees her agony as clay. He wants to sculpt her. And for a terrifying moment, she almost lets him. The collapse. How Aggie and Nana bring him down. As Niall becomes more violent, more unhinged, more certain that Aggie is his spiritual successor, the story takes a turn. Nana, his current wife, isn't oblivious after all. She's been living in denial, choosing peace over truth, survival over confrontation. But Aggie forces her to look. She tells Nana what she knows, that Madison didn't leave, that Niall isn't misunderstood, that he is a predator disguised as a man. Nana listens, and something inside her shifts. When Niall finally confesses, admitting Madison's murder, admitting everything, Nana records him, quietly, bravely, knowing it might cost her life. That recording becomes the nail in his coffin. He's arrested, given 3 life sentences, locked away from the world he manipulated so easily. But the story doesn't end with justice. It ends with vengeance. Because Niall's Uncle Rick, the true architect of the family's empire, orders Niall's assassination in prison. Not out of guilt, not out of morality, but out of embarrassment. Niall tarnished the family name. He weakened the empire Martin built. He exposed the rot they'd spent decades hiding. And in a world where legacy matters more than blood, a stain cannot be tolerated. Niall dies brutally, not as a martyr, not as a victim, but as a beast devoured inside a cage. A fitting end. Now let's talk about the part of this show that stays with you long after the credits roll. The meaning behind it. Number 1. The beast isn't just Niall. It's what grief can turn you into. The title The Beast of Me isn't about Niall alone. It's about Aggie, about us. Grief is portrayed as a creature. Silent, patient, almost seductive. It whispers, it tempts, it convinces you that the darkness is honest, that pain is the only truth that ever mattered. Aggie nearly lets that side of herself win. We see flashes of it. Her obsession with Teddy, her anger towards Shell's new partner, her fascination with Niall's brutality, her willingness to get close to a monster because he reflects the chaos inside her. The show makes a point. You don't become evil in one sudden, dramatic moment. You drift. You sink. You descend in inches. Aggie was inches away. And the only thing that saves her is acceptance. Accepting her own role in Cooper's death. Accepting that she can grieve without surrendering her morality. Accepting that moving forward isn't betrayal. It's survival. Number 2, legacy. What we leave behind. Martin, Niall's father, believed in legacy with religious devotion. The family name, the empire, the generational power. But legacy is fragile. One monster can break it. One truth can corrupt it. One exposure can crumble decades. Niall didn't just ruin the family name. He exposed what it always was. A polished facade built on violence and denial. Legacy isn't what you build. It's what people remember once you're gone. and the Jarvis legacy becomes a cautionary tale. Number 3, the thin line between good and evil. The show repeats this idea over and over. The line isn't thick. It isn't bright. It isn't obvious. It's thin. It moves. And anybody can cross it. Niall crossed it years ago and never looked back. Aggie stood on it. Nana walked it every day of her marriage. The show forces us to ask, what would make us cross it? Where does empathy end and vengeance begin? How much grief can a person carry before they break? Let's put it all together. Niall killed Madison because she tried to expose his family. Niall killed Teddy to manipulate Aggie and cover his tracks. Nana recorded Niall's confession, leading to his arrest. Rick ordered Niall's murder in prison to protect the family legacy.